It is 7 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, so you know what time it is. It is time for your weekly episode of SCV Chat. And before we get started, please remember the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor divisions, grade camps, or any other subsidiaries. How is everybody doing in Dixieland tonight? We got a great
What's
show for
up?
you planned. We have with us the executive director of the SCV, Adam Southern. We're going to be talking about what's been going on at your museum and just have a good old time. Make sure you share this episode out to all your SCV camps, brigades, any division pages you have, and any other like minded organizations and history fanatics, I guess we can throw ourselves in that corner. Um, we have Victor Smith of the Private William Riley Milton Camp 741 in the chat. We have Army of Tennessee Councilman Carl Jones, Gennard, Camp Commander of the Sam Davis Camp in Biloxi, Past Commander in Chief of the Lone Ranger Chuck McMichael, Kevin from Kirby Smith Camp 1209, Kim. We got a good little crowd. Make sure again to be sharing this out while we are slowly going to be getting into things tonight. Have a good episode for you planned. Let's thank Adam and everybody at headquarters. Bless their hearts before we even get started. Just bless them. They have to deal with us on a daily basis.
Nice. That's our job. Like Commander in Chief said, if not us, who?
For sure. We have Michael C. Hardy, the SCV chat historian. We have the most sharp-dressed man in the SCV, past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramlin in the chat.
The legend.
The legend. Miss Linda, good to see you. Miss Stacy of the, let me see if I can get a bit closer. Sometimes my eyes are a bit harsh on me, even at my young age. Me and Adam had a joke about that before we get started. But Miss Stacy of the Hamilton Way Chapter 949 UDC. Good to see our UDC people in the chat. Always good to see you. And if I mispronounce anything, and this goes for everyone, feel free to critique me in the comments. You'll notice everybody is doing it. Let's see here.
Moose, you can go to get your eyes checked and get some of these like me. These are progressive lenses. I have now made it to the bifocal era of my life, evidently. So
Fun fact, I actually do wear glasses. I cannot see far away, and I can see about this close to me, but beyond that, we have a problem. I do wear contacts because of how much I put those first pair of glasses through in middle school. Could you imagine buzz cut me? I had a buzz cut in middle school with a giant scar on the back of my head, might I add, from playing with my little brother when we were younger. Buzz cut, braces, 5'11". Everybody else is like 5'5", 5'6". I'm 5'11", standing at above everybody at my poor middle school. Glasses that were broken or crooked all the time. And jeans and boots and a polo. They required us to have polos at our middle school.
there's a lot going on.
It was a lot going on there. If those pictures make it out, I'm in trouble.
I want to follow those yearbooks.
I didn't buy those yearbooks. I purposely didn't buy them because I knew how bad I looked. And I was a lot skinnier too. I didn't gain all this weight until all of a sudden I got to Ole Miss. And so I'm like this big, and I have just this long neck too. So I looked funky in middle school, but who doesn't?
Yeah, that's true. It's an awkward time.
It's a very awkward time. And luckily, I have social media to remind me of it every single day. To the point where I'm like, maybe I should delete my Facebook. If I didn't have all my SCV pages tied to my Facebook, I would delete them. We got the Florida
So,
Division
yeah.
Commander, Calvin Hart, in the chat. Also a member of the Kirby Smith Camp 1209. Looks like we have the Maryland Division checking in, the Gilmore Camp 1388. Florida man, Sean McFall in the chat. If you don't know, Sean is part of the SCV chat crew now officially. He runs the Tuesday show, Look Around Florida, where he talks about news from the Florida Division, and he helps me out on Look Around. The bad part is, as soon as he gets used to Look Around, I'm gonna have to start throwing him on the Monday show to let him get used to the Monday show. Mr. Sean is kind of, if you know basketball, he's our sixth man. He's the first guy we call if me or Connor can't do something. God rest his soul. He knows how much goes into SCV chat productions. God bless him. Thank you, Mr. Sean. We have Miss Sandra. Ramen noodles, real quick. And we'll actually get into the news. Ramen noodles were probably my lifeblood in college. My father will tell you I learned how to spend money after freshman year because I spent money crazily freshman year. You know, everybody gets, those graduation gifts and stuff like that. And I just asked for money so I could go up to Oxford and eat and not have to text my family every other day. And I spent all that money on Oxford's food in a semester. And so I did not want to tell my father that I spent all that money. So me and ramen noodles became very close for a while, and gas station coffee.
Like every other college student, I think.
Oh, yeah. And Chick-fil-A. That's ramen noodles, Chick-fil-A, and crappy coffee goes together for college students now. Chick-fil-A was my savior. They offered deals for students who came by often. You could get like a coupon, buy strip box, and tomorrow it's free. Oh, it was amazing. That stuff saved me so many times. We have Jonathan in the chat. Just randomness. Kentucky Division Commander Kyle Thompson in the chat. We have Missouri SCV and MOSMB chaplain. Good to see you. Student chow, 35 cents a meal, says David. I wasn't that lucky, but the Ole Miss student cafeteria was very cheap, and you tasted that cheapness every time you were there. You better hope you don't have a class afterwards because there's a good chance you might have food poisoning. I made the mistake of eating it before my history classes. My history classes ran 2 hours long. Not that day, it didn't. I left. I ran. I didn't even go back. I was like, it's done. It's tired. I ate a burger and Jell-O. And isn't that sound healthy? A burger and strawberry jelly, a Jell-O. And that was my lunch that day. And it came back to haunt my soul. And it was $5. After that, I went to the student union, and that's when I met Chick-fil-A. Me and Chick-fil-A have a long relationship. They don't know my name because I always gave them President Davis's name, Robert E. Lee's name, and any other Confederate general I could think of when I go up to that menu. A lot of them think my name is Robert. They never caught on. Robert Lee? That's me.
Never caught on. History majors.
History majors stared a hole through me. They're all taught false history 24/7, so they hated my guts, but every other person had no idea. Not a single clue was given. One day I even did Bobby E. Lee, and not a single soul caught on, except for the one history teacher that ironically was my history teacher that semester, who tried to have a talking to me afterwards, and me and him had a long discussion. I became his least favorite student after that.
No, that's all right.
All right. It seems like everybody's on. Again, make sure to share this episode out. I don't think there's any SCV news to cover beforehand. Maybe just one. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Remember, if you haven't sent your letters about the Arlington Monument, to please do so now or after this episode. The link is in the chat for the SCV chat link to our website for it. It's also scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You can just go to scvchat.com, click on our news. I think it's the second news story we have up top right now. Just follow the instructions there, follow the links, either print out your letters or follow the One Click Politics, and they can send your letters out, I do believe. Again, just very important you do that if you haven't already. If you have already doing it, a new month is coming up. Maybe it's time to send them again. I'll definitely be sending them the first week of October. And yes, be sure to share this with your camp members. It costs nothing to promote the cause. From our Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy. And Dave asked any numbers. I'm guessing you're asking about the numbers like we did a couple weeks ago. No, I'm sure Commander-in-Chief Jason Boshiers, who's in the chat I just saw, will talk about that in his October Commander Comments episode. Remember, Commander's Comments, first Thursday of the month. You get an update from the Commander-in-Chief himself and Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy, about what National is doing, what they're doing. I don't think I can add any more words to that one. So make sure you share that. Check those episodes out. We have one coming out. Let's see here. I think next week. Yes, next week, October 5th. All right. Well, Mr. Executive Director, I do believe it is time we dip some toes into your news for the evening.
Well, sounds good. I think we have some pictures. We'll just go ahead and jump in.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So here's some big news. Last month, or was that earlier this month? I can't remember. It's been a long month. I think it was in September.
Yeah, I think it was too. It's been a long month for all of us.
But as you can see in the picture, we have our illustrious Mr. Moose there on the left. And his father, our historian-in-chief, Forrest Dawes, the voice of the Confederacy, the voice of the SCV. And I don't know the guy in the middle. He looks kind of sketchy. But they brought up this great item for the museum. This item is on loan, and it's from Beauvoir, which, of course, was the last home of Jefferson Davis. And this is an original casting of Jefferson Davis's death mask. And if you're at reunion, you probably saw this presented on the floor. Forrest brought it up to show everybody at reunion this mask that will be on loan. So that is now in the museum for everybody to see. And y'all have probably discussed this on the show before, but your title on the board there, you are on the board of trustees, right?
Yeah, correct. I'm the chairman of the Beauvoir Board of Trustees.
And your father is on the board of directors.
Yes, sir. He is the secretary treasurer.
Okay. So two separate boards there at Beauvoir. And Harrison can tell you all about that, but we're grateful to Beauvoir for lending this item to our museum. I think it's a great partnership, and this is a start of something that I hope will be a good relationship going forward between our two museums. And as our collection grows, hopefully we can send some items your way in the future for display at Beauvoir. But this is now on, I think you might have some pictures of the item in the case. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, so there it is on display. Looks good. And there it is. Kind of put it close to the Jefferson Davis statue. So if you're looking away from the case through those double doors, you can see the Jefferson Davis statue there on the museum property. So I think it's a fitting place for the death mask, or he's looking at his statue there. So, what else we have? All right, we have some books. These books came to us. I think the two of you delivered these when you came up to the museum last time. Forrest Dawes donated the Edith Pope biography, who was one of the original editors of the Confederate Veteran, the original Confederate Veteran. So she kept it going after the original editor died. And it's a great little biography on her. So these are all new items in the library of the Chronicles of Beauvoir. That is a book that was donated by the board of directors and the board of trustees from Beauvoir. And Central Florida's Civil War veterans. That was donated by Victor Smith's camp, and I can't remember your camp name right now, Victor. I'm sorry, but he is the commander of that camp, and they donated these items for our library, and we are in the process of cataloging items for this library. We have about 3,000 volumes cataloged now and searchable in our online catalog. And I sent you a link for the catalog, Moose. You might want to, if you have a chance, maybe put that in the chat for people to see. Probably that last email, but
Okay.
Before the show's over later on tonight, Moose will put that in the chat, and that way you can search and see if we have a certain book. If you don't see a book in our collection, donate it to us. Or you can make suggestions. If we have a little bit of funding, we will try to order books. But we have a very limited budget for the library, so we're not able to order a lot of materials. Our budget pretty much just covers being able to buy supplies like book jackets, book glue, tape, things like that we need for the library. But if there are certain books coming out, we do try to order those. But for the most part, our library is strictly run off of donations, and everything that we have has been donated to us pretty much. 3,000 volumes so far, and I think I have another 4,000 or 5,000 to go. I was looking the other day and I thought, could I finish this by the end of the year? And I don't think that I can. I'm executive director of the SCV. I'm acting like a curator for the museum, and I'm also the librarian. So in my spare time, I catalog books, and I don't have a lot of spare time. So I'm hoping, I'm going to make it a personal goal. I want that library finished by next year. All the items in the library catalog. So I've got a lot of work to do, but I think I can get it done.
Well, we couldn't have a better man for the job. Again, let's all thank everybody at HQ, including Adam. They all do a lot for us. Real quick, Victor Smith, his camp is the Private William Riley Milton Camp, 741. And let's see here. And here's the link that Adam was talking about. It is in the chat, and I will try to make sure to post it on occasion to remind everybody about our online catalog.
Yes, that's our online catalog for the book. So if you go in, and that will show you what's been cataloged so far. And Michael Hardy's in the chat. I think we only have one Michael Hardy book. So, Michael, if you want to fill in some gaps for us, we appreciate that. I see you in the chat every week, and I love your books, and I think they would be great additions to our library. But we do have some volunteers that can help. My wife, I've taught her how to catalog. Sometimes she gets tired of volunteering for me, but she's been a great help. I can't trust just anybody to catalog books. I'm really a control freak when it comes to that part of it. So very few people will be given access to the catalog, because if you mess it up, you mess it up, and I'm not going to be happy. But I can teach people to book jacket and to shelf books and to do things like that. I can use volunteers like that. And I've taught Commander Boshears. He knows how to process books and get them ready for the shelf. So I have another lady that helps me out, a local UDC lady that comes very regular and helps me out. But it's still into that part of it, because not only do you have to catalog the books, then you have to go around, you have to stamp all of them, put book jacks on all of them, barcodes on all of them. So it's really a time-consuming process that goes into that spare time project. So, and for me to have volunteers, I have to have work ready for them too. So it takes some time for me to get those items ready. But yeah, Victor, thank you for the book, and it's good to see you in the chat, and we appreciate your camp donating to the library. I think we had another picture of a stack of books. I don't know if that was in there or not.
Yes.
All right, this is the last stack of books that we prepared for the library, and as you can see, all the books have book jackets on them now. They're all stamped with a stamp that says General SCV, Major General McCain Research Library, Columbia, Tennessee. They all have location stickers on the spine. So that's just kind of the process that goes into these books. And we have to do a full sheet of spine labels for the books. It's a 50 count sheet of labels. So try to do 50 books at a time whenever we catalog.
Were you done with that one?
Yeah. And David, that's what we're talking about, the online catalog that we've put the link up to. That's what we're talking about. Follow that link and you can search what's in the library.
Link has been put in the chat, David. All right. Here is something I was interested about when seeing it. Let's put that up real quick.
Yeah, this is a really neat item. Of course, I love the story of Straits Raid in Alabama because that was one of General Forrest's best victories, I think, because he had a superior force and he bluffed them into thinking that he had more men than he did. So about 1,500 men surrendered to 500 Confederates. And that's why I think it was one of Forrest's best victories. This little gavel that's painted up like a woodpecker is made out of wood from the tree under which Strait surrendered to Forrest. So this is where the Yankees started stacking their arms, was underneath this tree. And somebody had the forethought to cut a limb off of it, and they made a little woodpecker gavel. So that's now in our collection. That is loaned to us permanently by the Brigadier General James Forney, UDC chapter in Alabama. So they've loaned that. I think we have another picture of it too. I might see it in some better detail there. But just a great little item. You can see the wear and tear on it. Over the years, I think there was a UDC chapter in Alabama that was using this gavel to start their meetings. And, of course, the president would hold the gavel and use it. But just a really cool item. And it fits in perfectly with the flag that was Abel Strait's flag. So we have it displayed right next to it. So.
All right.
All right. And we talk a lot about museum acquisitions, but we have some new acquisitions for the house. We just had kind of a mixed matched china set on the table. And we were lucky enough to come across this set relatively cheap. It's not as old of a set as I would like, but it very similar to a period correct set, and it has over 100 pieces to it. So that was acquisition for the home. It's a beautiful set until we can find a period correct set, I guess I should say. But, ever since I've started Elm Springs, our table had this great thick inch pad on it, and it was covered up by a long tablecloth. So we took that off. I wanted to see what was underneath, what the table looked like. So the table is actually in great shape. So we decided to keep it uncovered, and I think it looks a lot better in there. And I think that it's just the little things that add so much detail to the house. And having this china set in there really tops this room off, I think. And the two pieces of silver on the table, those are original Elm Springs pieces. Those are pieces of the Looney family silver, the coffee urn there. And I forget what that other piece is called, but it was basically a condiment dispenser. You would put your condiments in there and it would spin, and you could go around and pick out your different vinaigrettes and your spices from the piece there. I believe it's called a caster set. Now that I think about it. And the pink piece that you see in the center that has the pink glass, that is a pickle caster. You would put your pickles in there, and it's got little silver tongs that go on it, and just another one of those things that adds a little bit more to the dining room area. And I think the pink color in the dishes, the china, ties in great with the pink from the wallpaper. So this room's really coming together. Just a few little touches. We will be reupholstering the dining room chairs, which that's something that I can handle myself. My first job when I was a kid, when I started out, I was 12 years old. I worked in my grandfather's upholstery shop. So I'll be upholstering those dining room chairs. We've got some green velvet that will match the green trim. And so it's going to be looking good. All the time adding or changing something in the house.
The house is coming along greatly. And people can rent out the house, correct?
Oh, you can rent out the old conference room. We have once we moved the big table to the library, and that's where we have the majority of our GEC meetings now. That left the old conference room empty. So we had new floor put in there, something that would be durable and easy to clean. So now we rent that out for functions. If you wanted to have a baby shower, or we have a lot of wedding showers, birthday parties there. Very reasonable rates on the room. Local camp meets there, third Tuesday of the month. And if you ever want to rent it out to have some sort of SCV function or event there, give me a call. We'd love to have you.
That is awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break real quick. And we want to thank tonight's sponsor for tonight's Pop Tart break, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, which is the Kennedy Twins' newest book. Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is about how Jefferson Davis was a leader in the high road to emancipation. He looked to a day in which slaves would be able to live and participate in society. He did more, though, than advocate for this high road to emancipation. He practiced his beliefs in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves. And many of his former slaves left for prosperity, and their testimony about their former master who prepared them to be self-sustaining members of society. You can get the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org. You can visit both of their gift shops, and the book will be there. I want to thank the Kennedy Twins for sponsoring tonight's Pop Tart break, and we will be right back with more news about the museum after this Pop Tart break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Love that one every time. And again, we want to thank the Kennedy Twins for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart break with their most recent book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, available at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org in both of their gift shops. We are back. Make sure to be sharing this out. And we will get back into some of the news and interesting things that Adam has to tell us.
Yeah, boy. Seeing that commercial, I think every time how proud I was of the museum then, and looking back now, it's changed a whole lot. It's changed a whole lot for the better. I'm even more proud of it now. So if you have never been to the museum, I really encourage you to come, especially if you're an SCV member. I mean, this is your museum. This belongs to the SCV, and your membership is what makes it possible, and your donations are what make it possible. And I know we ask for a lot of donations, and I encourage you to keep donating because we need your donations. And you can see when you come to the museum that we're putting your donations to work. This is really it's all progress. Because I tell everybody it's all progress because when we opened in October of 2020, we had nothing in there. And everything that you see in there now has been since we opened. So it's all progress. So keep coming, keep visiting, and I hope to see you soon. And looks like we have our Friends of the Museum applications there on the bottom. So Friends of the Museum, Friends of Elm Springs, two different friends groups that you can become a part of. And then there's also the Friends of the SCV. These are all separate groups. Friends of the Museum, of course, your donations go to keep the museum going. Friends of Elm Springs, you're going to help Elm Springs and us upkeeping the home and doing ongoing renovations. Friends of SCV, this is one of the best things I think we have, because if you can't find an ancestor, you can't join the SCV. If you're a woman, UDC member, OCR, this friends group's for you. This is for you to be able to help the SCV and be sure that all of our programs, our museum, everything is going, and you can be involved with that. So consider joining one or all of those groups.
I couldn't agree more. And make sure, again, you try to push these friends forms and documents at your camp meetings. Something that camp told me they do recently is while they're trying to process a member, if his genealogy is becoming challenging, they sign them up for the friends first. And if they can't find anybody, he's already a friend of the SCV. And if they do find someone, they of course transition him into a full-fledged member.
Yep.
And of
That's
course,
a great way to do it. Can you put Carl's comment up on the chat real quick?
Yes, sir.
This is very true. Today we had a gentleman in the museum from Germany. That's what's really cool about our museum is we're not only getting people from other states, we're getting people from other countries. And this gentleman, as I said, from Germany, but he had been in Tennessee. He went to watch the reenactment at Chickamauga this weekend, and he stayed over an extra day just so he could come to our museum. And he stayed with us pretty much all day from 9 o'clock when we opened to well after lunch. And there's just so much to read and see. If you tour the house, if you tour the museum, you could really spend all day reading everything in our museum. And the reason he heard about our museum is he has friends that are members of our Europe camp. So they told him that when they came, they knew they would probably never make it to Columbia, Tennessee to see the museum, but they're sending their friends here. And he was totally impressed. And every European that I've talked to is a fan of the battle flag and is a fan of our cause and tells us to keep it flying every time when they leave. And it just really lifts my heart. People in our country can't see it, but the outsiders looking in see what our struggle is, and they're on our side. So that really keeps you going, because not necessarily everybody else, but I hear a lot of negative. So to hear something good really does me well, and I always enjoy seeing, as I said, the people from other countries, because they're always so positive about our museum and about our cause.
Real quick, I'm going to put this one up for Miss Linda. Our spouses can join the Friends of the SCV.
Yep.
She makes a great point. Of course, we do encourage you join a UDC, OCR, do whatever you can. We also highly encourage you join the Friends as well.
Yep.
Let's see here. All right. Let's get back to the last bit of pictures we have to talk about, Adam.
All right, back to business. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, this came from Sam Hatcher in Kentucky. He sent this into the museum. I love a good reunion badge and a good ribbon. And this one being the Orphan Brigade is so special. This is a beautiful piece, and we're so glad to add this to our museum collection. So thank you for that donation, Mr. Hatcher.
I'll say that's a very beautiful one, too.
Oh, it really is. As so many of those are made out of silk, and they're so fragile, and they shred so easily. So to find one that's in such great shape like this, it's really rare. And the colors are still good on it. And he's got it presented nice in this frame here. So glad to have that in our collection.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, let's see here.
And we had Dan Dorrell from the Tennessee Division was in the museum in Elm Springs a couple of weeks ago, meeting with Commander Boshears. And while he was there, he said, I've never been in Elm Springs. So I was able to show him around, and he had an observation. He said, there's not a Bible in this house. And I said, well, you're right. There's not. So he asked if we'd like one. I said, if you have a nice period correct Bible, we would love to have one in the house. And this Bible was published by the American Bible Society in 1864. So it's from the time period. And we're so glad to have that in the house. So thank you, Dan, for that.
That is awesome. And now I think everybody knows that I might be somewhat of a fan of Robert E. Lee. So when I saw this in the pictures, it piqued my interest.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that this one's next. Let me pull it up.
Mr. Ed Kennedy sent me a message not long ago and wanted to know if we'd be interested in this portrait. It's not the original of this famous portrait, but it is an original all painting, a copy of the original. And it's just a lovely piece. He paid to have it shipped to us. It was crated up nicely and was delivered in one piece. And that's just some of the artwork that will be added to our collection. We'll be working that in and out for display in the museum over the years. But I thought I'm like you, I'm a fan of General Lee, and so glad to see that, because I think it's really a beautiful piece, and it's beautifully framed. And if we can't have the original, at least we've got a great copy like this.
Yes.
All right. Now I went around and took some pictures in the gift shop, and we have a great gift shop, and that's just another way that you can support the SCV by buying items from our store. And we still have prints available of this lovely painting. This was commissioned by the Sons of Confederate Veterans, called Defending Elm Springs. and it depicts General Armstrong on the lawn of Elm Springs in November of 1864, just prior to the Battle of Franklin. The Yankee Army was fleeing from Murray County, and the Confederates were hot on their tail. And later, after this scene had taken place, after they had saved Elm Springs from being burned, they met the Yankees at Spring Hill, Tennessee, and later the Battle of Franklin took place. But Mrs. Looney is seen in this painting thanking General Armstrong for saving her house from being burned to the ground. And I think it's a very well done painting. And we have these available in our gift shop. So these are things that you can buy to help support Elm Springs, the museum, and the SCV. And this is something that the ladies have really liked buying, these music boxes. They have, they all play the same tune. They play Dixie, and it sounds great. So these are some of our hottest items. We really sell a lot of these. So if you have a lady in your life, or if you don't necessarily have to be a lady to like it, you can be a man. But they play a beautiful song, and I think everybody would enjoy getting one of those for Christmas. It's time to start thinking about that. It's only about 2 months away.
Hard to believe.
2 or 3 months, something like that. But it'll be here soon. Look at there. Yep. I had some help at the museum a few weeks ago during our open day in September. Moose came up, and not only did people get to tour the museum, they got to be greeted by a moose. So always good to see Forrest and Harrison at the museum. And we had a busy day that day.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. Speaking of Christmas coming up, I know we'll probably talk about it in a bit closer to Christmas time episode of Hearth and Home, but I think you said we have a Christmas event at either the museum.
Yeah, we always participate in the Merry Christmas Historic Home Tour, and that's the first weekend in December. And let me see what the dates are for that this year. December 1st and 2nd. So that Friday is the 1st, and 2nd is the Saturday. So our museum will be open. Museum and home will be open both of those days as part of the Merry Christmas Home Tour. And if you haven't ever been to that, I would encourage you to do so, because not only when you buy tickets for this event, you get to see Elm Springs and the museum, but you also get to see all the different historic sites that open up for this weekend. And the Athenaeum is one of those places. I'm on the board at the Athenaeum. It's another antebellum home in Columbia, and it was the home of the Smith family, and it was also a girls' school. Reverend Smith was from Vermont. He was a Yankee, but by the time of the Civil War, war between the states, I've been talking to a bunch of Yankees today, so I'm saying Civil War. But by the time of the war between the states, he considered himself a Southerner. And he actually financed a whole company of Confederate infantry called the Duck River Rifles. And he was a brilliant inventor in his own right. He had several patents through the U.S. government. And when the Confederacy was formed, he had several patents through the Confederate Army. And in 1861, he writes a letter that's syndicated across the South. And he said, the only way we're going to break the Yankee blockade is if we start designing a submersible. And he says, I've already drawn up the plans for it. He said, it's cigar shaped. It has a rear propeller. And if you start reading everything that he wrote, he basically describes the Hunley. And this is in 1861 before Horace Hunley ever starts putting together his submarine. So many historians have said that Reverend Smith is the father of the Confederate submarine. And it's just kind of wild to believe that a man from landlocked Columbia, Tennessee could come up with something like this, but he did. And when the Yankees came into Columbia in 1862, he had the refugee because he was from Vermont. So the Yankees expected him to be a good Union man and take the oath. And he said, I'm not doing it. So they threatened to throw him in jail. So he ended up spending the rest of the war around Mobile, Alabama. And he started trying to build his own submarine down there and actually sunk a few in the Mobile River. So it would be great if somebody could try to find those one day. They have to still be around, buried in the Mobile Bay probably. But he survived the war, came back, restarted his school, but died in, I think, 1869 or 1868. The war had really just taken a toll on him. But his home, the Athenaeum, is headquarters for the tour, so you get to see that. You get to see the James K. Polk presidential home or ancestral home. James K. Polk, only 2 houses survived that he lived in, the White House and the Polk home in Columbia, Tennessee. So they have a lot of his presidential artifacts there because his home, Polk Place in Nashville, it was torn down in the early 1900s. And luckily, the Polk Society was able to maintain and keep all of their artifacts from his presidential years. And it's really a great place to go visit. And talking about my wife, Kayla, she's also in charge of the home tour. So she's working hard to get the list of homes finalized for this year's tour. It's looking really good this year. We don't have the list finalized yet, but when it is finalized, I'll be sure to give a link to everybody. We can put it in chat, and y'all can make plans to come see us on the 1st and 2nd of December because all the proceeds of the tour go to keeping the Athenaeum and places like Elm Springs open. So,
oh, that is awesome. I can't wait to hear more about that event when time comes. We do have, I think, 2 questions for you. First one comes from our Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy. He just wants to know a bit more about you. He believes, I believe, your post-grad ED is in library science.
That's correct. I have a master's of library science from the University of Kentucky. Yeah. I'm not going to say go Wildcats, though. No.
I was about to be very confused for a second. I was like, Kentucky? I can't say much. I go to a school in Virginia. So, and the next one comes from our our Lieutenant Commander in Chief, Walter D. Donnie Kennedy. And let me bring up the picture. I know you know what he talks about, but just in case everybody else doesn't. Sure. He was
that's actually an artist redoing of an original. So it's an original oil painting. It's just a copy of the original, though.
Okay, let's see here. Take that down. You might not know this yet with it being, a bit out, but Lieutenant Commander in Chief Kennedy also asks, how much are tickets going to be for the tour? Do y'all know that yet?
Yeah, we haven't increased them in several years. They're $25. So $25 gets you into all the sites listed in the brochure. So it'll be at least 7 different sites that you get to go into for $25. I think it's a heck of a deal. Really, when you consider to tour each home would probably cost you about $10 each spot, and you're getting all sites for $25. So it's one of the best kept secrets in the South, I think, our home tour is. And
well, that sounds awesome. For that amount of money, what all you get to do, man, that sounds like a great way to start the Christmas season. I'm a big Christmas guy. My favorite time of the year is about to start in October and ends in late February. So, it's about to get into my season of things.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fall guy, so we're now in fall, so I'm happy and just hope the temperatures start going down. I like having my cigar out here on the side porch and being able to sit out here and enjoy the nice evenings. And it's been extremely nice at night around here. But going back to Christmas, we plan on having Santa Claus back to the Elm Springs. That's been something that we've done the past few years at Elm Springs. We've hosted Santa Claus and invited children around the community to come and see Santa. And like to tell everybody, Santa's an SCV member. So Santa is already making plans to come see us on December 2nd. So if you have children and would like to bring them, it'll be on the morning of the 2nd at Elm Springs. And that's a free event. If you want to give donations while you're there, you can do that. But we have a photographer there that takes your photos for free. And as I said, Santa's there. So he's the big draw. But I usually get my picture with him every year too. So
that needs to be
stay on the good list. Yep, I stay on the good list.
Good. I hope you weren't on the naughty list.
No. That's Moose and GCB.
Actually, in my defense, GCB put me on that naughty list.
Did he?
4 years with him. I mean, how do I get out of that alive? Let's see here. AOT Councilman Carl Jones says he plans on coming up soon and providing y'all lunch and volunteering again this year.
That's awesome. Thank you, Carl.
And let's see here. Our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshier, says, come to Elm Springs during the Christmas home tour. See myself, Eric Pavetti, in the men's parlor or Colonel Looney's study.
Yeah. Starts out, they give some really good tours, and then later on, I think they're getting into character too much. They're enjoying some libations and cigars around the house, and I'm like, oh, we're going to have to do something about this, boys.
And they don't invite you?
They don't invite me. I have to work.
Oh.
And we forgot to mention, if you're an SCV member and want to come to the GEC meeting, it's October 7th. Starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. So Commander-in-Chiefs are starting real early. But
yeah,
he's the boss. We have to be there at 8. So if you would like to come and see what the GEC is doing and what's going on with the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and you're a member, these are open to SCV members, you can come to the GEC meeting. That will be in the museum, in the library, on the morning of October 7th.
And I believe isn't the museum open that whole day as well?
Yes, museum will be open until at least 2 that day.
Okay. Let's see here. Speaking of, we have another glowing recommendation to come up for the
for our home tour.
Yeah. I just had a brain dead moment. I was trying to think of the actual name of the event because Commander Boshier's put in the chat for some reason, completely drew a blank. But past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramlin Jr. says it's a great event. Miss Linda and I had a great time participating in years past.
Yeah, the 2 years that Paul was Commander-in-Chief, he and Miss Linda always came up and participated, helped greet our guests, and that always adds so much whenever the Commander-in-Chief comes up. And during my tenure, Larry McClooney's done the same thing. Jason Boshiers has been there as Commander-in-Chief. He was there as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief too. So it's great to have the Commander-in-Chief on hand to help welcome guests to the SCV and to our property, and try to tell them what our organization is, and just really putting a face to our organization. And because you get guests from all over during these events that might not know what the SCV is. So it's a good education experience in that regard, but also teaching people about the history of the home as well.
So it sounds like a great event all around. I hope I wanted to go last year, And I think that evil finals week prevented me last year. I don't know if I'll be able to this year. I hope I do, but definitely will try my best to.
Well, we hope
Well,
to see you, Moose.
well, you'll see me no matter what in December because I'll come up towards the end of December like I did last year. Y'all, bless y'all's heart. It's so hard for y'all to get rid of me. But is there anything else you need to talk about tonight, Executive Director?
No, I think we pretty well covered it. Just come and see us. We'd love to see you in person, and check out the link to the online catalog for our library. And again, search for books. If you're looking to see if we have a certain title, look for a book. If we don't have it cataloged, we may have it and it may not be cataloged yet, or we may just not have it. So you can help by donating items to fill in the gaps if you see gaps in our collection. But other than that, keep the donations coming in and keep the visits coming. We love seeing SCV members and our friends. So until next time, see y'all.
Until next time, make sure to share this episode out and make sure to email scvuyouthoutreach@gmail.com, and your news will be presented on the next episode of Look Around the Confederation this Thursday at 7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time. This week on Look Around the Confederation, we will have an address from the Army of Northern Virginia about what's going on in the Army of Northern Virginia. Let's all take the time and thank the headquarters staff and, of course, our Executive Director, Adam Southern, and his lovely wife, Miss Kayla, for all the hard work they've done for our museum, for Elm Springs, and just for us as members, because they work our butts off for us. They do a job that I definitely would not want to do. So let's give them a great thanks. Share this episode out. Let's get more people checking in on the news from Elm Springs and checking on all the great stuff that's happening in our museum. Let's see. I'm going to put this up real quick from our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Bashirs. The General Headquarters staff is stay busy and are doing a fantastic job. The place always looks great. And so thank y'all again. Let's see. Is there anything else? Someone asked about a moose hunt. Nope. Talking about the museum tonight. We're going to skip over that comment with flying colors. And Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy, wants to thank Adam, and he says he will see us Thursday for Look Around. Well, everybody, it is time to wrap up the show. And without any further ado, please remember, everybody, to share this episode out, and no fumaring in the elevator. Stay Southern, my friends.